My phone buzzed on my desk in my Seattle agency, the screen flashing a text that stopped my heart. Please don't come. My friend said you embarrass me. I'm Lauren Brooks, 29 years old, senior graphic designer who hasn't slept properly in 4 years. I stared at the message, fingers frozen over the keyboard. My little brother Ethan, the same kid I gave up college for so he could attend University of Washington debt-free, just told me I wasn't welcome at his graduation party. The one I'd been paying for, designing, and losing nights over for the past 3 months. Every cent of his tuition, every textbook, every late-night Uber Eats when he was cramming. My paycheck, the rooftop venue downtown, the custom slideshow with the childhood photos I spent weeks restoring, the speech I rewrote 6 times so he'd sound perfect. My work, my money, my time. And now I embarrass him. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just felt something inside me snap quietly, like a cable that had been pulled too tight for too long. A week later, I'd be on a flight to San Francisco while his big day fell apart without me. And when my phone blew up with desperate calls, I wouldn't pick up. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Trust me, you're not ready for how this actually went down. If you've ever sacrificed everything for family just to be told you're an embarrassment, drop your story in the comments, smash that subscribe button, and turn on notifications, because this one's going to hit hard. Let's start from the moment I realized I'd been paying for someone who never planned to pay me back with basic respect. 4 years earlier, I was 25, sitting in the financial aid office at community college, ripping up my acceptance letter to UW. The counselor kept asking if I was sure. I told her yes, handed back the scholarship packet, and walked out. That same afternoon, I started picking up night shifts at a 24-hour diner on Capitol Hill, while keeping my day job at the agency. Double paychecks, zero sleep, every dollar funneled straight into Ethan's college fund. Mom, Diane Brooks, cried when I told her I was deferring my own degree. She hugged me tight and whispered that family comes first. Dad, Roger Brooks, just nodded and said Ethan was the smart one anyway, the one who'd make us proud. I believed them. For the next 4 years, I lived on coffee and 4-hour naps. I paid his full tuition, his dorm deposit, his meal plan, even the stupid parking pass he lost twice. When he needed a new laptop sophomore year, I skipped my own vacation and worked overtime. When he joined that fancy business fraternity and got hit with random fees, I covered those too without asking questions. Mom kept saying he was under pressure, that I was the strong one, the reliable one. Dad sent me photos of Ethan at networking events wearing the blazer I bought him, captioning them, "Future CEO." I saved every picture. My best friend Sadie Bennett watched the whole thing from the sidelines. She'd show up at the diner at 2 a.m. with takeout and force me to eat while I counted tips. She kept telling me I was building someone else's dream and forgetting my own. I'd laugh it off, tell her blood is thicker than exhaustion. She'd just shake her head and pay for my coffee. By senior year, Ethan barely texted back. His replies turned into one-word answers or voice notes recorded in crowded bars. I still wired the money on the first of every month like clockwork. I told myself, once he graduated and landed that big tech job, he'd see what I gave up and everything would balance out. I actually believed that. Then graduation season hit, and I poured what little energy I had left into making his day perfect, never imagining he'd look me in the eye, well, in the text, and say I wasn't part of it. Graduation season arrived, and I threw myself into the details like it could earn back the years I'd lost. I built the entire slideshow from scratch. Hours digging through old hard drives for baby photos, editing out red eye, syncing every transition to the perfect song. I wrote Ethan's commencement speech 3 separate drafts until it sounded confident but humble, the exact tone recruiters eat up. I hunted down Marcus Hayes, the rooftop manager at the Edgewater Hotel, and locked in the space with a deposit I pulled from my emergency fund. Valerie Ross got the catering contract for Pacific Northwest sliders and mini crab cakes because Ethan once said that menu felt professional. Derek Vaughn, a photographer I'd worked with on agency shoots, agreed to cover the whole event for cost plus a favor. Every vendor had my name on the invoice. Every confirmation email landed in my inbox. I color-coded the guest list, designed the digital invitations with the university crest, even created a QR code that linked straight to Ethan's LinkedIn. Mom called once to ask if Haley Carter, Ethan's girlfriend of 2 years, could add 20 extra names from her sorority. I said yes without hesitation. Dad texted a thumbs up emoji when I sent him the final head count. I kept waiting for someone to say thank you, or at least ask how I was holding up. The silence should have been my first warning. I stayed late at the agency, tweaking the slideshow one last time, adding a hidden slide at the end with a childhood picture of just the two of us. Ethan missing his front teeth, me holding him on my shoulders at the Space Needle. I captioned it, "From day one." I thought he'd tear up when it played. I thought wrong. Instead, 2 nights before the ceremony, Ethan called while I was exporting the final file. His voice was flat, rehearsed. "Haley's friends think you're too loud, Lauren. They say you embarrass me. Please just don't come." The line went dead before I could answer. Dad called the next morning while I was grabbing coffee between meetings. Roger Brooks never asks. He states. He laid out the plan like it was already decided. Ethan needed a graduation gift that would impress recruiters, something big enough to post about. $5,000 toward a signing bonus fund or whatever 22-year-olds call it these days. My name was already on the Venmo request. I let him talk, steam rising from my cup. He reminded me how tight the job market was, how Ethan deserved a head start, how I was the only one who could make it happen without touching their retirement. I stayed quiet until he finished. Then I told him no. The line went silent for 3 full seconds before he laughed. Short, sharp, like I'd told a bad joke. He said family doesn't keep score. I said I'd been keeping score for 4 years and the total was now in the 6 figures. He hung up. That same afternoon, Megan Powell, our cousin who still lived off Auntie's trust fund, posted a story from a private pre-party at some rooftop bar in Belltown. Champagne towers, custom graduation sashes, Ethan front and center wearing the watch I'd bought him for his 21st. Haley's sorority sisters filled every frame. Not one mention of who paid for the open bar. I watched the story 3 times, waiting to feel left out. Instead, I felt nothing. Then I noticed the little heart reaction at the bottom. Justin Brooks, my older brother who swore he was too busy with his own startup to help with anything, had liked it within seconds of Megan posting. He hadn't answered my texts in months, but he'd made time to double-tap a photo that erased me completely. I sat in the parking garage after work, engine off, scrolling through the guest list on my phone. Every name I'd added, every +1 I'd approved, every dollar I'd moved around to make room for their friends. Justin had asked for an invite weeks ago, and I'd saved him a spot at the family table. Now he was celebrating without me, liking posts that treated me like a punchline. I closed the app, started the car, and drove home with the radio off. The quiet felt final. Sadie showed up at my apartment that night with a bottle of red and 0 patience. She kicked off her shoes, dropped onto the couch, and opened my laptop before I could protest. Vendor contracts filled the screen, every single one carrying my signature and credit card. She scrolled slow, eyes narrowing at the totals. Then she looked up and asked why I was still holding the rope after they'd already cut me loose. I opened my mouth to defend them. Muscle memory, but nothing came out. She didn't wait. She clicked compose on a new email, addressed it to Marcus, Valerie, and Derek all at once. Her fingers flew. Professional, polite, final. Personal circumstances, immediate withdrawal. Ethan now point of contact. She hit send before I could stop her. 3 replies pinged back within minutes. Marcus sounded confused. Valerie worried. Derek just sent a thumbs down emoji. Sadie closed the laptop, poured 2 glasses, and told me the power had always been mine. I'd just been too scared to use it. I stared at the empty inbox, the sudden silence louder than any fight. Then I opened the airline site. San Francisco flights loaded instantly. I picked the earliest departure on graduation morning. Non-stop window seat. One click and the confirmation hit my phone. Sadie raised her glass. We didn't toast to revenge. We toasted to vacancy, the kind that finally lets you breathe. By the time Ethan woke up to his big day, the slideshow file had vanished from the shared drive. Marcus had already locked the rooftop gate because the final payment never arrived. Valerie's trucks turned around at the loading dock when no one answered her calls. Derek never left his studio. Ethan refreshed his email over and over, watching every piece I'd built disappear like it had never existed. He tried calling Sadie. She let it ring. He tried calling me. My phone was already on airplane mode 30,000 feet above Oregon. The rooftop looked like a half-finished movie set when guests started arriving. Tables sat bare except for cheap plastic cups someone grabbed from a corner store. Marcus had padlocked the doors after the final balance bounced. Valerie's team never unloaded. The trucks were already halfway back to Tacoma. Guests milled around confused, checking their phones for updates that never came. Mom tried directing traffic in heels, voice cracking over the wind. Dad cornered the hotel concierge, demanding overrides that didn't exist. Justin stood by the bar, mixing his own drinks, while Megan live-streamed the mess with a forced laugh, captioning it, "Graduation glitches, LOL." Haley spotted the empty projector screen first. She grabbed Ethan by the sleeve and dragged him to the center, voice carrying across the entire deck. 200 people heard her blame him for trusting family who couldn't deliver. Ethan shot back that she was the one who insisted on cutting corners to look exclusive. Their words got louder, sharper, until Haley threw her graduation stole on the ground and stormed toward the elevator. Half the sorority followed. Phones came out. Someone started recording vertically. By the time the dean's office opened Monday, Ethan's transcript was frozen. The university registrar had flagged the unpaid venue invoice attached to his student account, standard policy for any outstanding charges over $2,000. Amazon Recruiting pulled his full-time offer that same afternoon. A polite email citing recent public conduct concerns and a link to the viral clip Megan forgot to delete. The video Sadie posted hit 3 million views before dinner. She stitched together guest footage with a single line of text. "When you tell the person who paid for everything they embarrass you." Comments flooded with similar stories, screenshots of Venmo histories, graduation photos with one sibling suspiciously missing, Ethan's inbox filled with recruiters ghosting. Haley stopped answering his calls. Mom left 17 voicemails that all started the same way. Dad tried the group chat one last time before I left it permanently. Sadie sent me the view count from a pier in San Francisco, wind whipping her hair across the screen. She didn't say, "I told you so." She didn't need to. Golden Gate Bridge fog rolled under my feet while I walked the Embarcadero alone. San Francisco smelled like salt and new starts. I rented a tiny studio in the Mission, painted the walls sunrise orange, and turned the living room into a home office. My agency offered full remote after the creative director saw the TikTok storm and realized the designer behind it was theirs. They bumped my title to associate creative director and doubled my rate. Contracts I used to chase now chased me. Clients wanted the woman who built a 6-figure education and walked away when it wasn't enough. Back in Seattle, the fallout kept spreading. Ethan's fraternity revoked his alumni status after parents complained about the public meltdown. Justin's startup lost 2 investors who recognized him in the background of Megan's deleted live. Mom and Dad stopped getting invites to neighborhood barbecues. Word travels fast in lakefront circles. Haley moved her stuff out while Ethan was at a makeup interview that never called back. He ended up stocking shelves at the university bookstore, the same campus he once ruled. I flew home once to clear my old apartment. The building super handed me a cardboard box someone left outside my door. Inside, the watch I bought Ethan, the blazer from Dad's proud photos, a cracked graduation sash from Megan. No note, I dropped the box in the nearest dumpster and blocked every number that ever started with 206. Sadie met me for coffee the next morning. She slid her phone across the table. My block list had grown longer than my contact list. She smiled and ordered a celebratory mimosas. Looking back, I didn't lose a brother. I lost the version of myself who thought love meant endless giving with no return. Paying for someone's future doesn't buy you a seat at their table, and it definitely doesn't earn you respect. The real graduation was realizing I could fund dreams without funding disrespect. Some bridges don't need burning, they just need you to stop paying the toll. If you're watching this and still wiring money to people who call you embarrassing behind your back, ask yourself one question. When was the last time they asked how you were instead of what you could do for them? Your worth isn't measured in tuition payments or rooftop deposits. It's measured in the peace you feel when you finally stop answering calls you never should have taken. I learned that lesson at 30,000 feet, somewhere over Nevada, and I've never looked back.